Hello, this is Willie here in the Ozarks, and today's lesson is lesson 39. My holiness is my salvation. Today is February the 8th, lesson 39. My holiness is my salvation. He's going to ask us a question that I want you to tell me the answer to. I want you to think about what is the answer to that question. Before we go on to the lesson, let's remember yesterday's lesson. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. So we're changing the guard from that lesson to the new lesson now, whatever time you're watching it. And before we get to reading our lesson today, I wanted to show you these two plants. They don't look like they're getting enough light. I bought them at a greenhouse supply the other day. It's cilantro, which I know to be cold weather plant, and I double checked it so I wasn't passing on erroneous information. They look like it's had some recent growth, but it doesn't look like it's been getting enough sunlight. And it's got some dieback, but it's still healthy enough to do fine. It's a little cold, right? And I'm going to put it in a bigger pot and take it outside and kind of bring it in and out and leave it outside. On cold nights, I can bring it back in. That's kind of my plan on this cilantro this year. See if I can get a bunch of it growing to where we can pick our salad greens off of it. And I eat a lot of salad, so that would take a lot of cilantro. But, I whack the whole thing and then I wouldn't have any. But I'm going to try to learn how to grow enough to where I can have my big salads. And I'd encourage everybody, have a big salad once a day. Okay, yeah, a big salad, a big bowl, nice big bowl, hearty bowl. Let lettuce packs down, hardly anything. Be sure to add some kind of oil to it. I usually put a little vinegar in it too. And the oil should be in a whole form, not oil that's been taken from the fiber. The whole seed or the whole avocado, I put pumpkin seed and hemp seed and put a little flax seed, chia seed. Those are the big ones with your nice vitamins. Anyway, let's go on to this. This is my holiness is my salvation. Here's the question. It starts off with the question. If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? Okay, let's be thinking about that. What's the answer? You know it. What is it? Like the text for which this workbook was written, the ideas which are used for the exercises are very simple, very clear, and totally unambiguous. We are not concerned with intellectual feats nor logical toys. We're dealing only in the very obvious, which has been overlooked in the clouds of complexity in which you think you think. You know what? I'm not getting quite enough light for this lesson. Now here I've kicked my tripod, so let's bring you back here. And I got a light that I didn't turn on today. That'll help you a lot when I'm reading. Okay, one of these days I hope to get my health so well that I don't even need these spectacles. But thank you, Benjamin Franklin, for thinking of the idea. I think he was the one that came up with glasses. If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? Paragraph 2 starts off the same question. This is not difficult, surely. The hesitation you may feel in answering is not due to the ambiguity of the question, but there we go. But do you believe that guilt is hell? Do you believe that guilt is hell? If you did, you would see at once how direct and simple the text is, and you would not need a workbook at all. No one needs practice to gain what is already his. That's a nice thought, isn't it? No one needs practice to gain what is already his, but if you don't have happiness all the time, which is what salvation is. Matter of fact, I'll probably throw the word happiness in when we read this in a minute, so that you don't get lost in even this religious text. Salvation is simply your own personal happiness and the happiness of the world, every moment of the day. And that's every moment of the day, you're in heaven. Where else could you be but in heaven, when happiness is all there is? Paragraph 3. We've already said that your holiness is the salvation of the world. What about your own salvation? You cannot give what you do not have. A Savior must be saved. How else can he teach salvation? How else can he teach happiness? Today's exercises will apply to you alone, recognizing that your salvation or your happiness is crucial to the salvation or the happiness of the world. I added those words happy and all that. But I'm trying to get you to see that this word that sometimes we this is written in a very Christian context, which makes it helpful. But for the ones that are ready, you can take the jump to put the word that means closest to your word for salvation. And to me, the closest word is something like happiness, joy, peace. If you're not saved to having that all the time, well, you're not saved in my mind. Okay, as you apply the exercises to your own world, the whole world stands to benefit. Paragraph 4, your holiness is the answer to every question that was ever asked, is being asked now, or will be asked in the future. Your holiness means the end of guilt, and therefore the end of hell. Your holiness. Okay, what's another word we can use for holiness? How about we just think our oneness with the whole, with God, with everyone. Okay? The holiness, our oneness, our wholeness with God, which is everything that exists. There is nowhere that God is not. All right? We got to see God all the time. Then we're going to be happy all the time. Your holiness is the salvation of the world and your own. How could you, to whom your holiness belongs, be excluded from it? God does not know of unholiness. Can it be he does not know his own son? You? Can it be that God doesn't know you? Of course not. So he knows he's whole with you. So now it's time for you to know your own holiness so that you can see what God sees. A full 5 minutes are urged for the 4 longer practice periods for today. Longer and more frequent practice sessions are encouraged if you want to extend the minimum requirement. More rather than longer sessions are recommended, although both are encouraged. Okay, so we can go more than 5 minutes, and we can also take more than just the 5 minute, the 4 of them. We can do 5 or 6 or whatever we want, he says. He encourages us to go more rather than longer. But both are encouraged. Begin the practice periods as usual by repeating today's idea to yourself. Okay, what's the idea? My holiness is my salvation. And I'm going to encourage you. Write it on a card and put it in. I haven't done it yet this morning, but I'm going to. I'm going to put it in my card. And that way, when in the fog of the moment and I get myself all hot and bothered and I'm upset and I feel the pit in my stomach and I'm scared, I don't have to try to conjure it out of my mind, which, if you can, obviously that's the best place. And if you're thinking about it all day, it'll probably be easy to bring back. But you might find yourself in a moment where you forgot. That's when you pull the card out and read it. My holiness is my salvation. And you'll also want to write down, if guilt is hell, what is its opposite? That's part of what we're going to be trying to think about during the day. Okay, so back to begin the practice periods as usual by repeating today's idea to yourself. Then with closed eyes, search out your unloving thoughts in whatever form they appear. Uneasiness, depression, anger, fear, worry, attack, insecurity, all of them at the same time, so on. Whatever. Sometimes it can get really extreme, is what I'm saying. There can be a whole lot of stuff going on. Well, that's when you need this all the more. Pull your card out, read it, close your eyes. And just say, God, help me to be at peace. Whatever form they take, they're unloving thoughts and therefore fearful. And so it is with them that you need to be saved. Okay, we're going to be saved from every fearful thought so that only love remains. So grab on to the Master's hand and let him take you to this place inside. Specific situations, events, or personalities you associate with unloving thoughts of any kind are suitable subjects for today's exercises. It is imperative for your own salvation that you see them differently, and it is your blessing on them that will save you and give you vision. So when you take that which you were afraid of, and now you're able to turn around and say, hey, look, I am so secure in God that I can actually bless what I formerly was afraid of and didn't want to even think about or talk about or look at or discuss. Now I can look at it and go, oh, I can give it a blessing because there's a security that God's brought to my inner heart. And I don't have to feel afraid any longer. This is what we want saved from. Okay? Well, this is what we all want. Okay, paragraph 8. Slowly, without conscious selection and without undue emphasis on anyone in particular. Okay, without undue emphasis on any one unloving thought in particular. Search your mind for every thought that stands between you and your salvation, between you and your happiness. Apply the idea for today to each one of them in this way. My unloving thought about blank are keeping me in hell. My unloving thoughts about blank are keeping me in hell. My holiness is my salvation. So that's what we're going to say, and that's probably what I'd write on my card. But we also want to write that other question. You'll see here as we finish the last little reading. Paragraph 10. You may find these sessions easier if you intersperse the applications with several short periods during which you merely repeat today's idea to yourself slowly a few times. You may also find it helpful to include a few short intervals in which you just relax and do not seem to be thinking of anything. Sustained concentration is very difficult at first. It will become much easier to your mind It will become much easier as your mind becomes more disciplined and less distractible. Paragraph 11. Meanwhile, you should feel free to introduce variety to your practice periods in whatever form appeals to you. And that's nice, and he's saying it's okay to wander around a little bit. You don't have to have sustained concentration perfectly. It's okay to get kind of lost in your thoughts, but just always bring them back to the idea. My holiness is my salvation. And let the thought originate from that concept. That's all he's saying. Do not, however, change the idea itself in varying the method of applying it. However you elect to use it, the idea should be stated so that its meaning remains that your holiness is your salvation. Well, that's easy enough. Just that your holiness is your salvation. And whatever that means, my wholeness is my happiness. That's what it means to me. Okay, end each practice period by repeating the idea in its original form once more, which is, my holiness is my salvation. And then adding, if guilt is hell, what is its opposite? And then the last paragraph. In the shorter applications, which should be made some 3 or 4 times an hour and more if possible, you may ask yourself this question, repeat today's idea, and preferably both. So what's the question? If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? So that's an idea to be thinking about today. If guilt is hell, what is its opposite? And my holiness is my salvation. If temptation arises, a particularly helpful form of the idea is, my holiness is my salvation from this. My holiness is my salvation from this. So on your lesson, you put up at the top, lesson 39, and then under that, put my holiness is my salvation. Then under that, you can put down the meditation, my unloving thoughts about blank, make a little line for blank, are keeping me in hell, period. And then another line, my holiness is my salvation, because that's what you're going to repeat in your 5 minute of mind searching. And then you're going to ask yourself the final question in your mind searching, and then you're going to ask yourself this question and say the lesson all through the day. So you'll be your third line down. You'll put, if guilt is hell, what is its opposite? And then at the very bottom, you might write down, my holiness is my salvation from this. So you've got an instant reminder if you need to use it for a moment of temptation where you've gone blank and you're kind of lost in the quagmire of complexity and fearful thoughts that we so often as humans seem to fall into. But you know what? To err is human. To forgive is divine. See you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, see all of God's love and be happy.